BrandOdyssey always conducts consumer sessions with the participants sitting on the floor, either on beanbags or pillows. There are several reasons for this. Firstly, the table in the middle of the room is a terrible barrier. It is almost impossible to properly connect with the participants and for the participants to connect with each other when there is a table in between everybody. Sitting on the floor gives the group much more space. Things can be laid out on the floor, the stimulus can be put on the floor. Participants are actually very comfortable sitting in beanbags on the floor. Because we also need to rely on visualization and regressive techniques in the groups, we need participants to actually lie down and close their eyes, which would be impossible with a table. And in general, sitting on the floor encourages people to let go and rely more on their feelings and on their body language and intuition, and that is precisely what we want to understand. It is also important that the participants take off their shoes before coming into the room. In fact, it's one of the most important things that we do in order to set up the group. Removing shoes allows them to let go a little, to relax, to feel more comfortable. Once they sit down on a beanbag without their shoes on and they realise that everyone's the same and no one has anything really to hide, then they lose some inhibitions and they start to respond more freely. One other advantage is that they are not feeling like they are in a stereotypical market research session. So they are a little mystified and intrigued at the same time.
As you see, this group is probably a little bit different maybe to other groups you've come to, unless you've come to one of these types of groups before.
At this point, the moderator needs to introduce the group in order to put everyone at ease. We tell them the truth, that this is actually a serious market research group, even though we are sitting on the floor. We tell them that there will be a series of different things that we do in the group. We also tell them that there are no right or wrong answers to any questions that we ask them. And then we encourage them to give us their first impressions and gut feelings about everything that they see. Understanding first impressions are very important for marketing. The first activity in the BrandOdyssey group is to begin collecting impressions about the brand or the product or the category or the idea that we are investigating. We have devised a specific technique whereby we ask each participant to bring along either a story about a significant memory or behaviour relating to the topic in question and/or a collage of pictures and words. The purpose of this activity is fourfold. Firstly, it allows each and every participant to express themselves right at the beginning of the group. They cannot hide from participating in the group. Secondly, the group begins by using emotional expressions. This is a very important aspect of the BrandOdyssey method. We are constantly tapping into the emotional, sometimes subconscious perceptions and impressions. It immediately sets a context for the remainder of the group, which adds further insight to the information. Finally, it also allows the client viewing the group to hear immediate and relevant information about the topic. All of this is achieved with the moderator asking virtually no questions whatsoever. It is pure consumer thought, both rational and emotion being expressed in a free environment. At some stage, we need to bring the participants into the real world of the product or brand. A brand or product doesn't exist in isolation. You're picking it up or you're buying it within a competitive context, so we have to understand its position within this competitive context. This is what we refer to as the spatial position of a product or brand or idea. The technique we use to understand the spatial dimension is the product sort. We literally throw as many related brands and products as is manageable onto the floor and ask the entire group to make subgroups of brands or products that form the basis for the subsequent discussion on spatial analysis. So what is the space that a brand or product takes up? How is that space perceived, and how large or how small is that space? Is it a space that engulfs other products or brands? Does it act as a centre of gravity, or is it something that orbits around other products or brands? This is understanding the spatial dimension of a product or brand.
And some of them can be a treat.
A treat.
Talking about that section.
One of the cornerstones of the BrandOdyssey process is the use of individual, written, subjective projections. This is a powerful technique because it allows the consumer to express their own perceptions, but without having to talk about themselves directly. This allows us to tap into the subconscious and even unconscious perceptions about a brand or product or idea. In order to achieve the projection, we rely on a series of personality, abstract and symbolic pictures that allows a participant to express various subconscious perceptions about a brand, product or idea. The pictures we use are of less importance than what each consumer perceives about those pictures in relation to what they are writing about.
That's all they are, they're just fantasy pictures, so their meaning is what you give them.
It is important that these answers are written down and not discussed within the group for a number of reasons. But the most important is that it gives the participant freedom to write things down and to express themselves without having to justify why they have those feelings. This is key to obtaining deeper consumer impressions. We use a hypnotic regression technique in order to understand the effects of a brand's past and also its future. A brand or product's past is understood by collecting the emotional imprint it has left on the consumer. This imprint is often subconscious but very influential on behaviour. We assist the participant to remember an early or powerful memory by taking them on a memory journey. In order for most participants to remember specific emotional details of these memories, they need to be regressed using relaxation and mild sensory deprivation. Like the emotional projection, the memory is written down and not discussed within the group. Again, this gives the participant freedom to write down all aspects of their memory without having to explain or justify themselves publicly. The same technique is also used to determine a brand or product's potential future. Again, via a similar technique but with a different script, we assist the consumer to travel to their ideal scenario for a brand or product. Here we are tapping into the consumer imagination and vision of the future, which more often than not contains powerful marketing information.